For the past few weeks on this podcast, we've been talking about innovations, we've been talking about policy, we've been talking about new things happening in the green tech space. And funny enough, it's been a learning experience for me because I've heard about things I never knew existed, things I never expected. And today's episode, we'll be talking about one of them. Today's entrepreneur on GreenTech Pulse does something interesting. Most times we buy. I've had this shopping addiction. I don't have it that much these days, and I used to buy things I never needed. Buy so much my the delivery menu, my name, and a lot of times when we buy, we forget what it takes for these things to get to us. The shapes, the entire logistics pipeline, everything it takes for it to get to us. And today's entrepreneur does something interesting. He uses cargo sailboats, like they did in the 1800s, to ship goods across continents. That's grain the sail. So Jacques Barreau, I hope I got it again, is is our guest today. So welcome to the show.
Hi, Peter. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you. So now, I think your idea, grain the sale, is really interesting. So can you tell us, just give us a bit of background, how you got into this field? Because I know, give me 100 times, I'll never have thought of doing something like this or being in this kind of industry.
Yeah. Um, Actually, the idea of Grand Sale came up in 2010 when, me and my brother, it's my twin brother,
Mm,
Olivier Barreau, we worked together in the offshore wind market
mm,
by developing several offshore wind farms in the coast of France mainly. And in 2010, Olivier was looking for a solution to reduce the carbon footprint of the maritime shipping. It's something like 3% of the global greenhouse gas emissions, and it's about the same amount compared to the airlines. So we knew that we had to do something in order to reduce the carbon footprint of these activities. And even today, we actually don't have any better solution than a mast on a sail to push a boat without any fuel. So that was the main principle at the beginning. That was the main idea. Except that when you want to build and to finance such a vessel, a cargo sailing boat, it's always at the end a question of money and to try to find the finance partner. All the
yeah.
banking system and so on. And it appears for us that it could be interesting to start to link this maritime activity to a food and process activities based on the chocolates and the coffee in order to be able to load ourselves the vessel and to be more reliable on the way to load the vessel and to generate turnover for the vessel. And that was the main idea. Um, and especially because we knew that we had some very high quality on the coffee and chocolate coming from Latin America.
Mm,
And by getting all our primary materials from Latin America, it was also for us a way to cross the Atlantic with our sailing boat.
mm,
So we imagine this kind of a mixed with in the same group, in the same company, to have a food and process activity in one side linked to a maritime shipping activity. And that's what's very interesting with Grand Sail. We are probably the only company in the world that succeed to link these two activities very different. Of course, between a shipping activity and a food and process,
yeah.
it doesn't have any relation. But at the end, yeah, it worked pretty well. Actually, we started not by building a cargo sailing boat. We started on the coffee in 2013
Mm,
because it was somewhere the easiest product to to handle. as we didn't had any knowledge on the coffee and chocolate at this time. We were coming from maritime activities, and yeah, I mean, we were as all the people we like to drink coffee, we like to eat
Yeah.
chocolate, but we didn't had any knowledge on how to make it. So we decided to start with the coffee in 2013, followed in 2016 with the chocolate, and it was probably at the end of 2018 with the increase of our turnover, we discovered that when we were able to finance the first vessel, and so we decided to start the construction in the beginning of 2019, and the Grand Sail 1, I mean the first unit, was ready to set sail at the end of 2020.
Wow.
So you see, it's a kind of sequence. The coffee in 2013, the chocolate in 2016, and at the end, the first vessel was ready to set sail in 2020. And this sequence was absolutely mandatory. I mean, it's very complex to master so much jobs at the same time. So it
Yeah.
was necessary to divide to create a kind of sequence of development in order to be able to achieve the final goal of our business model. And following in 2022, we succeed to finance Grand Sail 2, the next unit that is operating since the middle of March 2024. It's a
Mm.
Grand Sail 2, a much longer version of the cargo sailing boat. And I will give you some more details on the vessels later. So that was a whole story.
Yeah.
It's a question of reducing the carbon footprint of the maritime shipping, but also producing some high quality products, organic, of course, to be
Hmm.
compatible with the environment, with the biodiversity, and so on. So it's a global project that just try to be more compatible with our environment and also with all the social aspects.
Okay. So I think during the description you mentioned that you carry your chocolates and coffee which you get from Latin America on the
Yeah.
vessel. So apart from that, do you carry cargo for the general public or it's just for your?
Yeah, it was not possible with the first version, with the first vessel, because it was a small cargo.
Mm.
It was a vessel 24 meters long. It's 72 feet long, a schooner type vessel with a loading capacity of 50 tons only. So it was a small vessel, but we needed to start with a small vessel in order to limit the financial risk for the first unit. And we needed to learn. We needed to learn how to operate properly this kind of vessel. We needed to learn to bring all the goods across the Atlantic in the right way, to be sure that all the pallets should arrive in good shape in the
Yeah.
other side. So yeah, it was necessary to start with a small vessel, and at this time we didn't have any places for external customer, which meant that we loaded Grand Sail 1 only for the needs of Grand Sail.
Mm.
But it changed a lot with Grand Sail 2. Grand Sail 2 is a 52 meters long schooner type vessel again, but with a much higher loading capacity. It's a 350
Mm.
tons this time, which means that we have much more places to bring some goods from external
Yeah.
customers. And that's the way we are operating Grand Sail 2 across the Atlantic. As in 2025, the percentage of Grand Sail product in the whole is something close to 20-25%, no
Mm.
more, which means that we have some available places like 80 to 75%
Yeah.
for external customers. And that's exactly what we're doing in export and in import, of course.
Interesting. So I think it's actually fascinating going from 50 tons on the first vessel to 350 on the second.
Yeah, because when the length of the vessel is twice longer,
Hmm.
it's also twice higher and
Yeah.
twice wider, which means that
Oh.
the whole capacity is multiplied by n to 10. You see,
Oh.
it's yeah. So it's not when you double the length, it generates a much higher loading capacity, shifting from 50 tons for the first unit to
Yeah.
350
50
tons
for the
for
second.
the second
Wow.
unit. And even we are already working on Grand Sail 3,
Hmm.
and Grand Sail 3 will be uh, again twice longer. It will be 110 meters long
Whoa.
with a three mast and a loading capacity of 2,800 tons.
Whoa.
See?
Whoa.
And it will use containers this time.
Wow.
It was not the loading won't be anymore in pallets. It will be directly loaded with containers. And yeah, this time it will be much closer from the conventional maritime logistic
Hmm.
pallets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I think one question I think a lot of people would want to ask on this topic is, compared to the normal shipping vessels,
Yeah.
what was the time difference in moving a cargo across the Atlantic?
Actually, using Rancel 2, for instance, we are sometimes faster
Oh.
than the conventional shipping. Just because we are not using containers, which means that the time to load the containers and to unload it on the other side is saved. And at the same time, we are very efficient on the cruising speed of
Hmm.
our vessel. Just to give you an idea, the last transatlantic crossing, it was in December. The time to get from New York to Saint-Malo in France,
Hmm.
it was 14 days,
Oh.
2 weeks, only
Wow.
2 weeks,
Wow.
using only sails. Just because it's what we call a pure sailing boat, using only sails to have the capacity to move, and it's very efficient. I mean, especially in winter when the environment is kind of windy. When the sea states are not too bad,
Yeah.
you can go very fast actually. And yeah, 2 weeks to cross the Atlantic, it's about the same delay compared to all the classical shipping. So it's not a question of delay. Actually, it's uh, it's more a question of changing the way we integrate. The maritime transportation. We have to be aware that today we have a main issue with the climate change, of course, and we absolutely need to modify the way we transport, and especially on the quantity.
Yeah.
Of course, we are aware that the loading capacity of our vessels are not as important as a big container ship. A big container ship, it's 300 or 400 meters long. It's
Hmm.
much, much bigger compared to our cargo. But the, one of the issues today, after the carbon footprint saving, is what kind of goods we really need to transport across the oceans. Is it absolutely necessary to build some object in plastic coming from some country across the world? Is it absolutely necessary to bring some T-shirt with a bad quality T-shirts sold at a very low prices, coming from poor country with bad social conditions and so on? Uh, that's the main question. We have to change the way we consider the transportation
Yeah.
across the Atlantic and across all the oceans. We have to somewhere to shift from an economy based on the quantity on an economy based on the quality. because an object, a high quality object that can last much longer, that could be even repaired or recycled at the end, will generate much less pressure on the environment. And that's the key. Somewhere it's, I have another way to say it. We should we should transport goods that deserved to be transported, and not all the goods. We have to relocalize in all the country just to be sure that all the products that will be transported across the ocean deserve to be transported. For instance, it could be an excellent wine from Burgundy in France, where it's absolutely not possible to obtain the same quality of wine anywhere else in the world. Uh, we should bring some high quality chocolates like what we're doing in Grand Sail, because it's very difficult to obtain the same quality locally. So for this kind of product, it's okay, but for low quality product uh, built in a very poor social conditions and so on. It should be it should not be possible to transport this kind of goods. And that's the main question. It's not only a question of carbon footprint. It's a question of what we want to put on the hull and
Yeah.
what we want to transport.
Yeah, okay, that's actually that's an interesting take. So now, looking at I think going to the technology aspect, because I know sailboats aren't too popular these days. I think most of the boats use I think is it diesel engines and whatever.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how did you go? I remember you said you did a lot of research for the design and everything. So how did you go about? What modifications did you have to make these boats work with the sails? And also the second part, finding people that would sailors that would actually be able to sail with sails compared to
Exactly.
the yeah.
Actually, we have a chance in France in that we have the knowledge
Hmm.
to design this kind of big sailing cargo, and we have the knowledge and how to make it efficient and the carbon footprint saving. And we also have the seafarers that are able to operate these kind of vessels.
Wow.
So it's thanks to the offshore racing.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
cool.
The offshore racing is for us one of the key for the technology and so on. It's almost like the Formula One for the cars.
Yeah.
Formula Ones generate a lot of technology for the cars, and the offshore racing helped us a lot to get all the the materials, the ropes, the sails. I mean, all these devices needs technology, and we have to be aware that sailing today is much more efficient than what we did. 1 century ago, using all the classical sailing boat. At this time, it was the only way to bring goods across the oceans. And today, there is two main difference. The first one is, of course, on the technology of the vessels.
Hmm.
It's concerning the design. It's concerning the materials. Concerning, all the technology coming from the offshore racing. And the second evolution is what we call the routing. It's the way to guide the vessel across the ocean using the satellite weather forecast and digital simulations to guide the vessel in the best way to cross the Atlantic in the most efficient way and also with the best security for the seafarers. And these two aspects, the technology and the routing, generate much more efficiency on the global logistic aspect compared to what we had 1 century ago. And
Yeah.
that's what all the people are discovering today. And especially when I told you at the beginning that the Grand Sail 2 make the crossing from New York to Saint-Malo in only 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's the result of the technology and the routine. And so today, yes, it's efficient, logistically efficient to use sailing cargo boats. Indeed.
Interesting. So I think answering that question, it brings me to another one because when you look at the boats, they are powered by sails. So in the other aspects, where you have the diesel engines and co, at least those can bring power, like power to for the like the satellite navigation and for
Yeah.
the crew and co. So how is the boat powered?
But if we said if we talk about Grand Sail 2, so the boat is mainly powered by the sails, of course. It's the way to push the boat across the ocean, but it's we also need to get some energy to feed all the electronic equipment, the
Yeah.
lights, even the climatization, and so on. It's what we call the hotel load of the vessel. And to do it, we are using hydrogeneration. It's a kind of propeller that is not pushing the boat, but it's a propeller that's generating electricity. It's yeah, and it's very efficient.
Hmm.
And so we are using this kind of devices to generate electricity in a battery pack, and this battery pack is also feeding all the equipment, light, and so on, and even the coffee machine. That's and well, today, I mean, we have all the technology. It's not, I mean, it's not a pure R&D. I mean, everything is today available
Yeah.
to do this kind of thing. It's just a question of thinking differently. Even for the
Yes.
heating, the heating system and the Grand Sail 2, it's not a fuel heating system. It's based on it's a wood. I don't know how to say it in English, but it's yeah, it's pellet. You know, pellets.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a system like that. And the whole heating and the water heating is based on this kind of technology. So it's a very low carbon heating system for the boat. And we didn't invent anything. We just took this kind of system from the industry. We just adapt it a little bit for the sailing capacity, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's working very well. In Grand Sail 1, we added some solar panels, some small wind turbines, and so on. I mean, all the technology is today available to reduce efficiency, the carbon footprint of the maritime shipping, except that it's not possible to be very efficient on the carbon footprint reduction if the boat is too large.
Oh.
Just to give you an example, if we wanted to put some mast and sails on a big container ship, imagine that, 300 or 400 meters long. If you want to put some sail at the right scale for this kind of hull, it would not be possible. Imagine the size of the mast. That would be something like probably 200 or 300 meters high.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not possible. So somewhere one of the key when you want to be compatible with the environment, most of the time you have to be reasonable.
Yeah.
You have to be reasonable on what you are transporting because you have to be reasonable on the size of the vessel and so on. You know, it's a new logic
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you forget that, it's not possible to be as efficient as the petrol.
Yeah.
If you want to be compatible, no, you have to, okay, you have to think about the technology of the vessel, but you also have to think about the way you are consuming, about the way you are transporting, and the way you are producing goods. So it's a much more large than just thinking about the vessel itself.
Yes, yes. And I think that's actually brilliant, combining different things that exist. Because once you just mentioned the hydro generator, I just saw it, probably the boat is moving and it has maybe the turbines in the water spinning due to the motion of the boat, and yes, transferring the power into a battery.
Exactly,
It's just
exactly.
brilliant, honestly.
So in this case, the engine is still the same. The sail is the engines, and the sail
Oh,
are pushing the boat and generating energy for the boat itself.
Wow.
So it's yeah, it's a
Wow.
very it's a smart way to generate energy during the crossing.
Yeah. Okay, so now for the people, the retailers, the consumers, what has been the reaction so far to this to them knowing about the shipping method you use?
Yeah. What we try to do for the for the final consumer indeed is to express the way the product has been transported, which means that yeah, for instance, I take again the example of a bottle from Burgundy, an excellent French wine from Burgundy, for instance. When the final customer in New York or in US will taste this bottle, it will of course test the product, but it will also be informed on the way the bottle has been transported,
Yeah.
which means that we add value, some more value on the product after the quality of the product itself. It's also the quality of the transportation, and at the end, it's somewhere the quality of the the compatibility with the environment.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's we believe a very efficient way to be different from the other product. And if we are talking only about commercial competition somewhere, it's we believe a very efficient way to make the difference.
Yeah.
It's not only a product; it's a product that has been transported in the right way. And we used to put some stickers on the bottles and all the product that showed how the product has been transported using sailing boat, which
Yeah.
means that you add environmental value, you add even adventure, the maritime adventure on your product, and it's yeah, it makes a big difference at the end.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think from interviews, from different interactions doing this podcast, I just realized that the best way to do everything is just going back to nature. So going back in your case to wind, going back to how nature does things is the
Yeah,
least, yeah, it has the
exactly.
least negative impact on the environment
Yeah.
and everything.
In our company, we used to work on the global environmental limits. I don't know if you know this principle, but actually there is nine limits that we have to take into account in
Mm,
our environmental strategy, and only one limit amongst the nine limits. Only one is concerning the
mm,
greenhouse gas emissions. All the other limits are concerning the global pollution, the water, the
yeah.
even the ozone layout,
Yes,
and
yes.
there is so many other aspects that we have to take into account to be complete on
Yeah.
our interaction with the environment. And we also have all the other social values that are also absolutely mandatory to take into account. So it's yeah, it's I believe that the company of the 21st century uh, needs to be in a good equilibrium in three pillars. The first one is to be financially sustainable, of
Hmm.
course, and it's absolutely important to say that it's the first pillar.
Yeah.
But all this financial capacity, we have to be compatible with the environment and the social aspect. And if the company is not in a good equilibrium in these three pillars, that doesn't make any sense. Except that's exactly what we have done for decades now. Most
Yeah.
of the companies in the world were only focused on the financial aspects, but it's not enough. Today, we also have to be compatible with the environment and all the social aspects. So that's exactly what we are trying to do in a grand sale, and it's working
Nice.
actually.
Yeah, that's amazing. So now, I think you talked about you've started with Grand Sale One, Grand Sale Two, and you say you're about launching Grand Sale Three. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So looking at the shipping industry and everything, what's the potential for scaling this model? Do you see a lot of people adopting the use of sailboats to transport cargo?
Yeah, I believe that it's going to take times, of course, to achieve this kind of development. But if we look at the efficiency of the maritime transportation using sails, and especially if we are talking on Grand Sail 3, this third vessel will be a container ship, which means
Yeah.
that we will be very close from the logistic habits. I mean, usual way to transport of the logistic in the world. The second point is that if the vessel is bigger, the cost of the transportation is lower. And that's why, of course, all the big container ship in the world are something like 300 and 400 meters long.
Yeah.
That's just because it's a way to be more cost efficient. So by developing Grand Sail 3, we know that the price will be somewhere like divided by two between Grand Sail 2 and Grand Sail 3. The cost of transportation will be divided by two. And the cruising speed will also be higher because when the hull is longer, the cruising speed is better. So that's for us a way to be more somewhere like a little bit closer from the usual cost of transportation from the maritime shipping, and to be, of course, as efficient on the logistic aspect. I mean, the duration of the voyage.
Yeah.
I'm totally convinced that this is probably a very good solution, a very efficient solution for the future. And we try to prove it in Grand Sail. We proved it with all our vessels, the Grand Sail 1 and Grand Sail 2.
Yeah.
And we will prove it again with Grand Sail 3 and probably Grand Sail 4. We expect that it will be a kind of a sister ship. It will be a copy, but yeah, it will be very efficient and very impressive. Very nice boat, very beautiful vessel. Also, it's important to be beautiful,
Yeah.
but very efficient. Yeah, of course. But if at the same time we are not focused on the reduction of the amount of goods that are transported across the oceans, we have to also think about it. It's necessary to reduce our needs for transportation.
Yeah.
If we are only focused on the carbon footprint optimization of the vessels, it's not going to be enough. We also have to relocalize to reduce the needs for transportations, or else we won't have any chance to reach the maritime organization that says that by 2050 we have to be at zero net emissions. Zero. It's not minus 50%. It's a zero net emissions. So we have to be ambitious.
Yeah.
The way to be ambitious is to work on the vessel itself, of course, but it's also reducing the needs for transportation.
Transportation, yeah. Okay. So now these cargo boats, cargo sailboats are not mainstream. So I believe the insurance laws and other maritime regulations might be different for them. So how do you deal with are they different actually?
Actually, not that much, as all our vessels are certified. I mean, to be totally compatible for transporting goods across the ocean. It's, the current commercial maritime technology, which means when a vessel is certified, the cost of the insurance are not different from a classical vessels. It's just a question of safety. It's a question of design. It's a question of certification. And when you have all this certification, all the insurances are considering that your boat is just a classical vessel. And so, no, there is no issue on this.
Insurance and co.
Fortunately.
Amazing. Then I think another thing people will think of when they think of sailboats is the weather, because I know you mentioned during the winter it's more windy and obviously they can move faster.
Yeah.
So over the time sailing these boats, I think since 2020 to date, what is the most challenging weather situation you've faced?
It was at the beginning. It was challenging due to it was a brand new way of designing vessels.
Yeah.
And especially when you want, especially for the first one, the first unit was quite small, and it was much more complex to be compatible with and especially the certification
Yeah.
needed for this kind of vessel. It was kind of difficult to design it and uh, and to be still compatible with all the rules that are mandatory for a commercial vessel. And especially it's more difficult when the vessel is a small.
Yeah.
Uh, if we take, for instance, the conventional surfaces on each cabins, it's something like 7 square meters per
Mm.
cabin,
Mm.
and we didn't have enough places in the first unit to have 7 square meters for each cabin. So
Wow.
we had to negotiate and to be able to be still certified with a more compact
Yeah.
cabins for all the
Yeah.
seafarers. You see, it's a kind of tricky part. And we I remember that at the beginning, it was also hard to obtain the certification because we have some sails, big sails, and when the boat is tilting
Yeah.
or is moving with the wind, the global rules of equilibrium were not compatible with the sails. So we
Oh.
had also to negotiate to be able to have the certification.
Wow.
But after that, the technology itself was ready. I mean, we have the knowledge in France, one more time to make this kind of vessel.
Yeah.
And somewhere, the bigger the vessel is, the easier it's possible to make it
Mm.
and to be closer from the standards of
Yeah.
construction for big vessels.
Okay, I think so. Okay, so for now, for businesses, I know you've mentioned the supply chain, the need to localize the supply chain, the need to reduce
Yeah.
the need to ship a lot of things. So for businesses who want to make their supply chains more sustainable, what's one actionable piece of advice that you can give them?
Well, yeah, relocalization is a key. We try to delocalize in the year. I mean, the in the 90,
Yeah.
and now we have to do the opposite way, and that's a shame, of course. But definitely, the relocalization is one of the key, and probably that we will have to be more reasonable on the kind of product we are producing and the kind of product we are buying. It's a change of in the way we are buying goods, and it's probably the hardest point.
Yeah.
It's not a question of actually we know what we have to do to be much compatible with the environment, but the main issue, I mean, to me, is to convince all the consumers to change the way they are buying goods. If I take the example of the T-shirt, instead of buying 10 T-shirt,
Mm-hmm.
low quality T-shirt, instead of buying 10 T-shirt like that in Shine or all these bad brands uh, for $50, we should switch by buying 2 T-shirts, high quality 2 T-shirts for $50 also, but with much less pressure on on the environment using these 2 T-shirts. But it's a high quality T-shirt that will last much longer than the 10 T-shirt that will be almost in the garbage 3 or 4 weeks later. So
Yeah.
it's a question of choice. But if all the consumer are not convinced to change the way they're buying goods, it's not going to work. So it's and yeah, and all the logistic aspect will have to evolve and to change the way they are considering the transportation in general. Especially, we're not only using vessels, we are also using planes sometimes to transport goods. It's terrible. I mean, the planes, it's so incredibly high on the carbon footprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big change, definitely, and we have to be aware of that. And And that's why it's important to communicate. And thanks to your podcast, it's a way to explain, and it's a way
Yeah.
to change the way we see the goods. As you mentioned at the beginning, it's important when we see a good, we also have to see the way the good has been transported.
Yes.
We have to
Yes.
see the way the good has been produced. And
Mm.
yeah, it's not only the product; it's it's all the impact around the
Yes,
product.
exactly. All right. So I think as we get to the end, what would you say is next for what should we expect for Grand Sale in the next couple of years?
Actually, we expect that the final customer will understand why we have done that. And we expect that the final customer will understand that it's a little bit more expensive to use a cargo that is compatible with the environment,
Yeah.
because a sailing boat will be always more expensive than the same vessel using fuel. Uh, as an organic carrot will always be more expensive than a classical carrot. You see
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
When a product is compatible with the environment, uh, it's not magic. It's more expensive, but the right price is this price.
Yeah.
It's not the price using chemical products, using fuel. I mean, using pollutions. Um, we have to shift, and we have to admit that okay, uh, we can buy some products that are more expensive, but if the quality is good, the product will last longer. The product will be better, even for the health, even for I mean, all the producers and so on. So yeah, the equation is more complex. We have to be aware of that and to be more compatible. So I'm just expecting that the final customers will understand all these principles. And yeah,
Amazing.
I hope it's going to work, and especially in US. All our chocolate tabs in are will be available in US soon.
Wow.
The first chocolate tabs from Grand Sale are sold in California
Wow.
and in New York also. And yeah, I hope that we will have a big success over there.
Amazing.
It's important
Amazing.
for us.
Amazing. So now, for less listeners or people watching this episode who want to learn more about Grand Sale, about your business, about what you're doing, or maybe they want to get involved with what you're doing, what's the best way for them to reach you?
If they want to reach us, we have a website. It's grandsale.com
Okay.
with all the information. It's in French and it's in English, so very easy to understand. And yeah, it's all the information about our strategy, about our product, about the vessels are indicated in our website. Grand Sail in one word. Grand Sail, SAIL at the end. Grandsail.com.
That's perfect. Okay, so for anyone who's listening or watching this episode, if you're watching, as he's mentioning, it will be on the screen at the bottom of the screen, scrolling. If you're listening, just pull out your device, check in the show notes. You're going to see the website there, grandsale.com. So thank you so much for coming on the GreenTech Pulse today.
Thanks a lot, Peter, for talking and explaining Grand Sail. It's important for us, and yeah, see you next time.
Thank you. Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye.